All right, I'm ready if you're ready.
Let's rock and roll.
Hi, hello, and welcome back to the Brohio podcast show, where doggy style feels a lot better because the pressure it puts on the top of your wiener. I'm here with my co-host, Rob Diggity Dangle Dog.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Is that true, what I said about pressure on top of the wiener?
It is very true, and it feels very good.
It feels different.
Nothing better than some good butt meat smacking your torso.
I'm the love guru from Peru, the delicious Nicolicious. We're here in my basement.
We are hanging out.
Some people think we record in a multi-million-dollar studio.
Believe it or not, we do not.
It's not true.
No, we're one step up from a cardboard box on the side of the road.
Cat shit 4 feet away. I've got my best bucking hat dad on. I've got my best bucking dad hat on.
There you go.
I am the best bucking dad. My kids let me know that yesterday.
Yeah, I was rocking the greatest father shirt, but I said greatest farter.
Yeah, I have that one too.
Yeah, I was rocking that yesterday. My son got it for me, so I was like, gotta wear it.
That's stupendous.
I know.
I don't even hunt deer. My kids are like, we got to give him a big bucking dad hat.
It almost says the F word.
Yeah, so then all day long, the kids kept on saying, you're the best bucking dad.
They're just taking advantage of it, milking it.
So that's fine, kids. I am what I am. Therefore, I am what I ain't. Try to put some wisdom in them. Or some whiz in them. I don't know how you say it.
I don't either.
Speaking, I got a really cool story for you this week, but we got to jump ahead to our, well, you just heard the promo. Rob didn't hear it.
I didn't.
But we have a live show in Indianapolis on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, that's 5 days away.
Yeah, there's going to be the opportunity.
Ooh, we still got some tickets. Get the tickets.
Yeah.
Come see us. Hang out.
There's going to be a couple people that get to come up on the stage and get on the microphones with us. We're going to tell, Rob and I are going to write a paranormal story.
Yeah.
Then in the really tense parts, we're going to leave some gaps. And then we're going to do some Cards Against Humanity style stuff where these people sit up there and it'll say like, Nick went to the nightstand and grabbed his, instead of, it should say gun, but then they'll pull one of our cards that we make, right, and it'll say a big fucking shit dick, and they have to say shit dick.
When in reality, instead of a card, it's probably just going to be a napkin that we found on the table.
We're going to do it on the way there.
Sauce on it.
On the way there.
That's how we roll.
It's the way we roll. So don't, go to Eventbrite. Check that out. $15 tickets. Mysterious Circumstances with Justin Rimmel, Jerry and Tracy from Hillbilly Horror Stories. It's going to be a wonderful time.
It's going to be a great time. I can't wait.
My wife said, did you know on the website it says you guys will sign merchandise? What's my fucking autograph?
Right.
We've signed one thing before, and I was completely taken aback. I said, wow, that's pretty fucking cool. This is not worth anything.
For real?
Yeah, but thanks for letting me sign something. And
that's one of those things, if my wife sees me doing, she'll just laugh at me and make fun of me.
Yeah, exactly. And we got a cool shipment from our friend, I think Jamie and her husband, that's her name. Okay. I can't find the letter she sent with us.
Aww.
She sent us some stuff from the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much. We have a P.O. Box. It's a Brohio Podcast, P.O. Box 672, Vandalia, Ohio 45377. If you want to send us stuff, send it. We'll put it back here for the YouTube videos.
If you have garbage you don't want to throw out.
A few weeks ago, I haven't talked about it, we got a random doll in the mail. Okay? We got a doll. It's up there above Rob's head. You can go to the YouTube video to check it out. I opened it up. It was a box in a box. In the box, inside the box, it said, please do not open. So naturally I'm like, hopefully it's anthrax. Just fucking kill myself and get it over with. So I open it up, and then there's a letter inside of the box with the doll, and it just said,
do not keep.
It said, haunted doll, please do not keep. And I said, well,
I guess what we're doing.
That's going on the shelf. She's pretty. She's porcelain. She doesn't smell like jizz, so we'll keep her around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only touched her once, and I'm still fucked up. Not any worse, any better.
Your left eye droops a little lower than the other one, but it's all right.
I got my best bucking dad hat.
Exactly. We're powering on.
First off, thanks to Luis Alonso. Thank you, Luis, for your Patreon pledge, buddy.
Renee Blackman, thank you very much.
Like fun last name. Danny Marquardt.
All right.
Marquardt. You're kicking me in my quartz.
Stephanie Valley, thank you very much, Stephanie.
Chris Mickelson, the Dickelson. Thank you, Chris, for being the best Dick, son of all Mickelsons.
Nate Norden. Look at that picture, though.
I know, that's a sexy picture.
Gorgeous.
Parker Wentland. Not Wetland. This is Parker Wentland. Thank you, Parker. That's another fun last name.
Michael Nucky. All right.
That's what my wife, she's like, no, I don't want to be fingered tonight. And I'm like, how about the old Nucky? You want the old Nucky? Want the old Nucky shuffle? Oh, no. That's the worst. Austin Green. Thank you, Austin Green, for your Patreon pledge. I will not be figuring you, Austin Green.
Nasty Chewy. That was my pussy's name in high school.
That's the worst. Jessica Thomas from Quick Bites. Quick Bites, they had a promo on our show last week. Go listen to them at Quick Bites. That's Jessica from Quick Bites. Thank you.
Shiloh Athena? Sure. Good for you.
You want the old Nucky?
The old Nucky.
You want some of this fat Nucky?
Yes, please.
I got the fun article for you this week, Rob Dog.
All right.
Vomiting after a hard drinking session proved to be a blessing in disguise for a man in China after doctors found out that a meatball-like, I hate that they call it a meatball-sized mass.
Ruining that.
A meatball-like mass he had thrown up and swallowed back in his drunken stupor was actually a long-ignored tumor. According to Oriental Daily, the 63-year-old from Hubei, China.
Oriental Daily.
Yeah, that's what you go to over there for all your news needs.
Sounds so racist.
China had been feeling, he had been feeling discomfort in his throat for some time, especially when he swallowed solid food, but chose not to seek medical attention. That's until after a recent binge drinking session, he began throwing up and felt a sudden sharp pain in his throat, followed by the sudden presence of a meatball-like mass in his mouth. Ugh. Oh my God. The man was so drunk that he thought he had vomited up part of his body. Oh, my nut.
My testy.
Oh, spewed up my meat nut. And he quickly swallowed the meatball back with a glass of water. No. I got to swallow my nut back. Oh, no, dumpling.
You obviously never saw Shrek. Better out than in, I always say.
I guess, yeah, that's the worst, dude. Fortunately, the man decided to seek medical attention this time and went straight to a hospital in Wuhan. After hearing a story and conducting an endoscopic exam, doctors discovered that the meatball was in fact a tumor growing at the top of the man's esophagus.
Stop calling it a meatball.
Oh my God. It went all the way through the man's throat. It was blocking his airway. He went through surgery. It was 15 centimeters long and 4 centimeters. That's about the size of the average dick in China. It was a thick tumor, which was later identified as fibroma. I don't know about that one. The man had described the mass he threw up and swallowed back as a long forked tongue.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. That's, if I ever... You imagine getting so drunk that you puke up
Puke up a meatball.
Dude, I had the stomach flu a couple weeks ago, and I was puking enough. I was waiting for something to pop out that was part of my...
Just a liver.
Part of my innards.
Yeah.
So I talked to you the other day. I was at Kings Island. Mm-hmm. This goes along with shit coming out of your body.
Okay,
a long story, but I'm going through the park with my 3 daughters. Dad of the year, best bucking dad. Says it on the fucking head. Okay,
read it and weep.
Best bucking fucking dad. We're going through the park. I get a really bad poop cramp, and you guys have listened before. I have situations with my bowels, and I like to come tell you guys about it.
That's what we're here for.
So I'm right in the middle of the park, and Rob knows that to get from the middle of Kings Island all the way out to, Huckleberry Finn 27 where I'm parked at, that's a good walk. That's a good mile walk.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, no, the park is packed that day. There's so many people there. So I'm like, girls, Daddy's got to go to the bathroom real bad. And they said, well, just go to the bathroom. But this place is like, there's all kinds of people there. I can't just leave them in the park. I have a 2-year-old, 7-year-old, and an almost 10-year-old. I can't just leave them in the park and let them fend for themselves while I go take a 20, 30-minute shit. So what do? I start going through the map really fast. I'm like, they got to have family bathrooms. They got to have family bathrooms. Not thinking my oldest daughter, she acts like a teenager.
Yeah.
She's at the point now where she says, oh, God, Dad. And she rolls her eyes and doesn't want to, be with me in public and stuff. She's just kind of embarrassed. So I find the family bathroom and I start to go in and I open up the door. There's nobody in there. And I turn back and they're just standing there. I said, oh no, you guys have to come in here with me.
Oh God.
So they shuffle in real slow, like I'm about to kill all of them. Then I tell them, I say, "Oh, you face the wall. Turn around, face the wall," because you have boys, so it's a little different. Yeah. I have girls. Yeah. The 2-year-old, I don't. She doesn't see parts of my body anymore. There's a certain age where you can, lay him down the bed while you get changed after a shower.
Right.
But Paisley cannot see my dick anymore because she'll fucking
walk up and pull it.
She's very inquisitive.
What's that?
So I don't walk around in my underwear in front of my kids. I suddenly have my shirt off. It's just a respect thing for me. I'm raising little girls. So I say, turn around, face the wall. They turn around and they plug their ears.
They know what's about to happen.
And I sit down and I didn't, it wasn't like it was, it sounded like the Grim Reaper was coming up out of the bottom of that toilet. And it was just one of those poops where you poop and you feel like it's never going to be done. It's still sitting, your stomach doesn't feel any better.
Yeah.
And then the 2-year-old starts going, "Ew, dada." Ew, dada. And the 7-year-old goes, "Oh my God, it smells so bad." And then Emily, she's got her ears plugged, the 10-year-old, and she says, "Oh, can we just leave, please? We'll be okay. We'll just wait by the door." I'm like, "Oh no, there's bad people out there." And I'm thinking, you're sitting here and smell my shit. For all times I change your nasty diapers, and they'll poop, and then it's like stink the house up.
You're gonna miss this one day.
Yeah, you sit there and look at the wall and you smell dirty shit. You smell like poop. So I told their mom about it. Their mom said, "Well, why didn't you just go to the car and drive to a gas station?" I said, "I was gonna shit my pants. Okay, I'm a grown man. I'm tired of pooping my pants." The doctor, I went for the checkup today. And the doctor said, "Anything new in your life?" I said, "I've been pooping my pants a lot more than normal."
They're like one second away from putting you down.
Yeah, I know.
Old Yeller in your ass.
Like, starts loading the shotgun. He's like, he's a new doctor.
It's like, "Well, Mr. Nick,
how many people in your life are tired of your shit and want you to fucking die?" "Well, a whole lot, doc. We're going to take care of it for them right now. Put your hands behind your head and get on your knees." Now, just some full disclosure here. This is one of the roughest episodes we've ever had to cover. This is some of the worst human beings in the entire world.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of child abuse, a lot of sexual abuse on children, which nothing invigorates our anger more than sexual abuse on children.
Yeah.
I'll take a drink of my Gatorade here.
Slurp it down.
Mm-hmm. So if it's something you can't handle, this is your opportunity to turn back. Whew. With that being said, there's a lot of kids that get fucked in this story.
God damn it.
A lot of kids that get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched the interviews of these people. They're adults now.
A lot of kids that die.
They're all fucked up.
Yeah.
They had a lot of horrible things happen to them. Usually when we read about stories like this, we say, "Oh, what state in America did this happen? Kentucky, right. Alabama, Arkansas, Florida." It's usually Florida.
You always think it's the backwoods.
New Orleans, Florida, man. No, this is Great Britain. This is between back and forth Scotland and Great Britain. So you fucking hillbillies over in Great Britain. That's what Rob said earlier. He called me.
I was like, these are like the most white trash.
Yeah.
Like
he said, this
Englanders.
He said, "This is what hillbillies are like in Great Britain." I said, "You're absolutely right, dude. You're absolutely right."
Oh man, these people are wild.
They're the worst shit stains in the entire world.
Yeah. They definitely are. We'll get into it.
Old Fred and Rosemary West. And I'm going to take you on a trip.
Oh, I love trips.
To the very beginning.
Okay, let's go.
The man we're talking about.
The man of the hour.
Old right said Fred West. He might have actually started off as being, I don't know if this could even possibly be true. He could have potentially been a little bit normal in the beginning, but he had some shit happen to his head. We had this dog when I was a kid. My dad would fucking hit it with sticks and shit. And he just would like bite us. And my dad hit him with a log. And then he'd fuck him up. And this dog got progressively dumber. So I do think that when people get hit in the head a lot, it does progressively fuck them up a little bit. There's the CTE thing and but most athletes that go in the NFL for the most part, they're kind of fucking stupid to begin with.
Pretty much.
Professional athletes like that, they just, "Oh, I'm real good at the football," but they're just, kind of retarded to begin with.
Right.
And they get even dumber.
Yeah, he he really, if you go and look at pictures of him, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. He looks like Andre the Giant came on one of Freddie Mercury's turds and it made a baby.
He looks like a dinosaur that just got eaten out. The face
he looks like a Frankenstein.
He looks
he's just like
it's like a Frankenstein that just got done eating out a dinosaur.
There you go.
So fucked up, dude. Now, Fred was born in the small town of Much Markle in Herefordshire. I don't know how to pronounce all these. For those of you, our friends over the pond, you can email us, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. Let us know how many of these words we fucked up.
Keep a tally.
We're going to fuck them all up. But Herefordshire, he was the second of 6 children of Walter Stephen West and Daisy Hannah Hill. Now, sorry, my phone's making all kinds of vibration noises. I think it's yours.
Yeah, it's mine.
He came from a very weird family, but he was said to be the favorite of his mother. So he was a mama's boy, you know. He had a pretty good, if that's what you want to call it, he had a pretty good relationship with his mom, what was her name there? Old Daisy.
Daisy.
So much so that there are rumors that the two were fucking each other. Dead serious, dude. Where that was later denied by Fred in interviews, but there was all kinds of rumors going around after all this stuff happened that he was definitely having sexual intercourse with his mother.
Yeah. And this is going to be a common occurrence throughout everything.
It is a really common occurrence.
Yeah.
If somebody said, who's the one person you wouldn't fuck? I probably wouldn't go my mom first. There's a lot uglier people than my mom, but my mom would be up there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I would rather have sex with my mom than someone with AIDS. I don't want to die. You know what I mean?
Guess that's true, yeah.
They're like, you want to have sex with Nancy Kerrigan? Let's see. I think she might have. Does she have AIDS?
Nancy Kerrigan?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think she does.
I don't know, maybe.
They're hiding it. Her and Magic Johnson, they were kind of popular there at the same time, so you don't know.
So that's true. Throw Dennis Rodman on there, too.
His father, on the other hand, was a deranged sick fuck. He was a strict disciplinarian that did whatever he wanted to the children whenever he wanted. In 1946, the family moved to Moorcourt Cottage at Moorcourt Farm, where Fred's father worked as a milking herdsman and harvest hand.
Squeezing teats all day long.
How cool is that? You go to school and you're like, what does your father do for a living? Oh, he's a cow milker. He just milks cows for a living. You just walk up and kick him in the udder and it all comes out.
Jobs just aren't what they used to be.
I would sure like to drink some milk straight from an udder.
I don't think it's good for you.
Can you get arrested for that? You just, we got a dairy farm over here. If I just went in there and just started grabbing one of the udders and...
You'd be like slurping down like udder scabs and stuff.
Look at that bag balm, dude. I have to put that on my nuts sometimes when I get old fucking monkey butt and shit. Now, he was old Freddie Freeloader. When he was physically punished for doing badly in school because he was kind of retarded. He was not the best student. He had a very low IQ, and we'll touch on that in a second. But where he did show some aptitude was at woodwork and artwork. His mother, Rob and I just saw a picture of her, who was very obese and often dressed unattractively. She'd go up to his school and she'd raise a shit and yell at the teachers because he was always fucking up his grades. Because, of course, it's never your child's fault. It's always the teacher's fault when your kid's fucking up at school.
Yeah, it can't be your kid.
And she looked like she got hit in the face with a bag of what the fuck, dude. She was busted and disgusted. That was a swamp donkey. That was the ultimate swamp donkey.
Yeah, she was the queen swamp donkey.
She looked like she got face fucked by a hippo. His dad would oftentimes rape and have incestuous relations with Fred's sisters and taught Fred at a very young age about bestiality.
Now, son, how do you even have that conversation?
My dad used to call me and be like, oh, Nick, get in here. And I go in there, he's like, can you turn the TV down for me? I said, sure, Dad. I turn the TV down. And this family, he's like, Frederick, get down here. Fred walks in, he's just got a squirrel in his hand. He's going to teach you how to fuck this squirrel. I don't know if they have dogs in England or not, or what the popular animal is, you know. I think they keep goats in their houses and shit there.
I think so.
We have a lot of friends on Instagram and Twitter. I don't see a lot of dogs.
I don't either.
Besides Americans.
I think that's where they get their milk from, is goats. So they don't have cow milk. They
alligators.
Yeah, alligators.
You've never truly lived until you've had a nice warm glass of alligator milk. It's sweeter than the nectar that comes from your mother's tits. If you've ever tried gator milk, send us an email, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what that shit tastes like.
That's an email I really hope we get.
Dude, we got emails of people climaxing as well. We got a couple of them. We're going to play at the end of the episode.
Yes. Yes.
We got 2 of them. The one guy's from England as well. He's like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shite. I've just ejaculated. I've just spunked.
My spunk. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I've spread my mayo all over the place. I've got to clean this shit up. Oh, but I'm sorry. This is the worst day of my life. He recalled, Fred did, about his father. His father would often tell him, do what you want, just don't get caught doing it.
Jesus. That's like the worst fatherly advice.
What a great
in the world.
When I'm done fucking this goat, you can leave here and do whatever the fuck you would like. Yeah, he dropped out of school at the ripe old age of 15. I don't need this school no more, and I'm pretty smart enough to get along on my own way.
How smart was he?
He had an IQ of 85. And I looked that up. That's slightly below average.
Yeah.
That's not like Forrest Gump retarded, where he's like, your son is right here, Mrs. Gump.
Forrest Gump had heart, though.
Have you ever thought about putting him in a special school? He's not quite that bad, but 85, I feel like I would be about an 87, but he was an 85. I don't know if people are just smarter over there in the United Kingdom or how that works. I'm unsure. So he dropped out of school and he became a farmhand laborer. He got the nickname Country Bumpkin.
Country Blumpkin.
You know what a blumpkin is, Rob?
I do.
For those of you not listening, a blumpkin, that's where you receive fellatio while you're taking a big old creamy shit.
Taking a big old dragon shit.
Never had it happen to me before.
No.
Had a guy try one time. I said, hey, Grandpa, get out of here.
I'm not opposed to it.
And he said, I'm just trying to get my teeth out of that toilet. I said, oh, come over here, big boy. Get your teeth out of the toilet. Don't call me Big Dick Nick for nothing. Actually, I don't have that nickname at all. He was, okay. So I said that he had potentially had the opportunity to be a little bit normal from the beginning, right? That he had some head trauma later on. But even before the head trauma, he was a fucked up dude. He aggressively pestered women and girls whom he objectified. He saw them as a source of pleasure to be used as he saw fit and would abruptly approach and fondle women at any given time. You do the old Donald Trump on them and just run up and grab them by the pussy.
Them are some nice titties you've got, ma'am.
Let me see your baloney nipples. When a girl, she was had enough of the advances, and she said, you know what?
Good for her.
I'm going to give old Fred, I'm going to let him have a ride. I'm going to take a ride on the Fred Express and see why he's so sexually aggressive, see what he's got to put out there. She went on to say that after having sex with him, she found his sexual performance exceptionally unsatisfying as his primary objective was his own gratification. Now, wait a second, lady. Sometimes as a man, you got to get in there and you got to get out of there. You know what I mean? It's not always about you, all right?
Maybe he didn't like what he was picking up.
Sometimes, yeah. You ever think about your snatch smelled like a turtle farm? Think about that at all? You know, smell like bong water and fucking shit, fucking doo-doo. God damn.
I don't know. I hate to stick up for him, but
I don't.
And I'm not trying to do that. I'm just
not
saying,
sticking
hey.
up for him either. I hope he dies in a car fire at this point.
Well,
yeah. Now, for his 17th birthday, he got a motorcycle. Because Fred was kind of fucking retarded, he wrecked the motorcycle, fractured his skull, broke his arm, and broke his leg.
That's the first thing that an 85 IQ person should have is a fucking motorcycle.
I gotta go so fast. What I face I ride? He had to walk in braces, and he was in a coma. I don't know, the research here. I'm thinking about them putting leg braces on him while he's in a coma. If he does wake up and take off running, he's gonna need these fucking braces on his legs so he doesn't get hurt too badly. Yeah, from then on he had to walk with braces, and he was in a coma for 7 days. But he was pretty messed up from the accident. He had one leg that was exceptional. It was a lot shorter than the other leg. You think this leg is short? Why do you see my dick? He was, after the accident and the head trauma, he had severe fits of rage that weren't occurring before the accident. And he had an irrational fear of hospitals. But this wasn't the last time that he would get his fucking noggin fucking rattled. This wasn't the last time he'd get his egg scrambled. He was grabbing on some girl at the Ledbury Youth Club. when she fucking punched him in the face.
I just love how even like throughout all of this, he still won't keep his fucking hands to himself.
Well, he's got some brain problems after this, so he's
got bionic legs.
My mom said no means yes. So she punches him in the face like
good
any
girl.
good girl should do,
Yep.
sending him plummeting 2 floors to the ground. So this one messed his head up pretty good.
She
that
fucking
time.
knocked him 2 stories.
She said, I'm going to knock him back to the fucking Beatles invasion. In June 1961, Fred's 13-year-old sister, Kitty. What a fucking stupid name for a girl. I think that's a really popular name over there, though. Kitty told her mother that Fred had been raping her since the previous December and that he had impregnated her. He was arrested the same month. Fred freely admitted to police that he had been molesting young girls since his early teens and asked, doesn't everybody do it? That was what he thought because he was raised in such a fucking
to do whatever you want.
Horrible environment. His father was doing this to his sisters. He was taught from the very beginning that this is the way of the land. This is the way things work. This is the way things are. And this is honestly what this dude thought. His sisters would not testify in the case. So the case went all to shit. He was not convicted. But after this, he was exiled from the family.
Rightfully so.
He moved in with Aunt Violet. Which Aunt Violet, I have a pretty good idea what she looks like. Mm-hmm. It involves a lot of cats and a moo-moo. I think that's probably...
It's probably pretty accurate.
Someone ugly enough that he wouldn't want to put his hands on her, okay? So he moves in with Aunt Violet. But shortly thereafter, in 1962, just less than a year later, he reconciled with his parents, although his siblings still fucking hated his guts.
Naturally.
So he did kind of, get back in the good graces of his parents. His brothers and sisters said, no, mate.
Makes sense.
Fucking fuck yourself. Go fuck Aunt Violet. I said, fuck. And that takes us to the early life of Rosemary.
Oh, yeah.
His wife, the other main character in this story.
Yeah, his eventual wife. And you're probably thinking that, Fred's super fucked up. There's, no way that it can get any crazier. No, they are both pretty fucked up people. So
they were
right from the get-go. So Rosemary Letts, she was born in 1953 in Devon, England, into a, of course, poor and abusive home. She was the 5th of 7 children. So, real big family. Now, her father, Bill, was, of course, very abusive. He was a schizophrenic as well, and he would constantly take out, any of his angers or frustrations on Rosemary, her siblings, and her mother. So, Rosemary's mother's name was Daisy, and she was actually... Ooh, I heard that slurp over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. She was actually treated with electroshock therapy while she was pregnant with Rosemary, which could be a reason why Rosemary faced so many issues later in life. So, yeah, don't do that.
Oh, God. All right.
I'm just going to hook her up to this car battery here and see what happens. Now, during Rosemary's teenage years, her parents ended up separating because, mom was tired of that shit. And first, she lived with her mother about 6 months, and then finally she ended up moving back to her dad's right around the age of 16. During this time, he was even more abusive, and this is when things got even more sexually abusive. Oh, and this is to her and to her sister Patricia. But he had been sexually abusing Rosemary since the time she was about 10. So this had been going on for 6 years, but once she moved back, it got even worse. And because of the way that she looked, she was, overweight, wasn't a good student. She was, of course, also bullied in high school.
That's right in my wheelhouse, though, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not hating the fucking...
No, I'm not either. I'm just saying it's just one girl. It's one thing after another. So it's you got a fucked up home life. You're getting, raped by your dad. Kids don't like you. You smell like shit. I mean, it's just one thing after another.
Oh, God.
Now, her father, besides being a complete asshole, he had really strict rules on her. So not that I don't think she had really many options, but she was unable to have a boyfriend. She wasn't allowed, according to old pops.
Yeah, that's what they all say when they look like that. My dad said I'm not allowed to have a boyfriend.
But
I've only got one kid. I can't have a boyfriend yet.
Even though she wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, she was still DTF, ready to fuck. And she actually gets caught sneaking into one of her younger brother's beds, playing with his little noodle.
God damn it!
She's fucking playing with his noodle.
With her brother's noodle?
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice how you walked around earlier and I could see your little dick was rock hard. Let me see your dick.
I saw it peeping out of the bubbles in your bath. It looks so good.
You're so dirty.
Dirty boy. She wasn't one of her dad's rules, which she even ended up finding the loophole. She wasn't allowed to date guys. Not the poop hole, but the loophole.
I found the poop hole.
Found the poop hole. She wasn't allowed to date guys her own age, so naturally she went for older dudes.
Oh, okay.
So there's the poop hole. I mean loophole. So
Dad's fine. Oh, I'm dating Bill.
You're talking about the guy that mows the grass down the street?
Yes, that's Bill.
Oh, that's fine. You can date him. That's fine.
So she would sneak out, hang out with these older dudes, and one night she was hanging out with one of these older guys that she was talking to, and he actually ended up taking advantage of her and raping her. So, it's just a normal night for her. And a little after this event is when she would actually end up meeting Fred West, who was 12 years older than her. And at this time, of course, that age difference, old Papa Bill didn't like that. He wanted his daughter pretty much to himself. So at this point in time, he actually ended up going to the trailer park where Fred lived, confronted him in front of his daughters, or in front of her daughters. No, yeah, in front of his daughters. And she ended up leaving her father to go stay with Fred. Oh. And this is where she would help take care of Fred's daughter and stepdaughter.
But she would, and this, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself in the story here.
Yeah, this story kind of bounces around.
It does.
It bounces around a little bit because all these little things intertwine.
So we're going to go back a little bit right here. Before Fred meets Rosemary.
Okay.
He didn't live his life alone as a horn dog. At one point he did have a girlfriend named Catherine Bernadette Costello. They first started dating in 1960. They met at the Much Markled Dance Hall. They dated for several months before she moved back to Scotland. She came back to England in September of 1962 because she had to escape the stigma of being pregnant with a mixed-race baby. This is it's real good. While in Scotland, she got knocked up by a Pakistani cab driver.
Oh wow! I was expecting, just like a black baby or something.
No, it's a Pakistani.
Yeah. It threw a curveball at me.
He's dropping her off, and he's like, "I would like to really see your bobs and vagine. If you will let me come in the house, I will bring you Slurpee. I will slurp on your titties. I like bobs and vagine."
Don't we all, buddy?
Yes. They got married in November of the same year. Now, Fred's brother, John, was the only one that was in attendance for the wedding.
Oh, damn.
Imagine being so fucking hated by your family. They had to sacrifice one to go, and it was old poor John. Now, the nickname for Catherine, he called her she went by Rena, okay? Fred demanded sex from Rena daily and wasn't interested in, quote, regular sex. So they're fucking tying each other up. They're sticking pig noses in each other's assholes. They're wearing the fart masks. They're farting each other's mouths.
He breaks out his dad's squirrel that he showed him how to fuck years before.
Yeah. You probably have seen this squirrel before, of the remnants of it. I used to keep him in my underwear and keep him real warm next to my dick.
You shoved the furry part up your asshole.
It feels real good when they try and claw their way out of your butthole.
Yes, it does.
Do they have buttholes in Great Britain?
I think so.
If you're from Great Britain and you have a butthole, write us an email, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if it's different than ours. If your butthole's between your butt cheeks, if it's on the bottom of your feet. Man, how much more convenient would that be if your butthole was just on the bottom of your feet? You just wear sandals, and that seems like the more appropriate place for a butthole.
It really does.
To the bottom of your feet. You just lift your foot up and put it in the toilet, and And
Like in the palm of your hand or something.
yeah, but then
Then you just like Iron Man fucking diarrhea blast people.
turd just fucking lightning logs. I'm gonna talk to God about that.
Okay.
About getting my butthole moved to my foot.
To your foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because your foot's always dirty.
Yeah.
Your butthole it keeps all those juices and stenches and stuff, and just really creates a bad spot of your body. You know what I mean? Now Aunt Violet, she said, you know what, you guys just got married. Go ahead and move back in with me. So they moved back in with his Aunt Violet, and he got a job driving an ice cream van to make ends meet. So you're the creepiest fucking guy in the world.
Perfect career path.
You look like you've been hit in the face with a tube socks full of 16 pence or whatever they've used to pay for candy with over there.
Right.
Your face and your teeth are fucked up just like everybody else you live around. What's the job for you?
I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Have you ever seen a normal looking ice cream truck driver?
I don't remember one standing out though. I remember the one from I think it was the Aquaman Barbie video.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or the
Barbie girl. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. There's just like you said, there's not a very good stigma there.
Yeah. They always seem like they're weird.
For sure, definitely weird.
If you ever drove an ice cream truck, let us know. If you're fucking a weirdo, send us email, brohiopodcast@gmail.com.
In March of 1963, Shay gave birth to the Pakistani baby named Charmaine.
Ooh, like the toilet paper.
Like toilet paper, or as I like to call her, old shit-stained Charmaine, is what they called her when she grew up.
Poor little kid.
To explain, so it wasn't, there was no acceptance for him to have a half Pakistani baby. So to explain why the kid was just a little bit brown and not like him, they told everyone that she miscarried at the hospital. So the hospital just said,
Oh my God.
"Here, your baby died. You can have this one." That's what he told everybody.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, we was in the hospital and it died. They just gave us another one.
The 60s was a wild time, so who knows?
Here, take this Pakistani baby. Take this one.
Oh, shit.
Give this a baby a better life. Now, the couple eventually moved back to Glasgow, England. In July of 1964, Rena gave birth to Anna Marie, which was their daughter they actually made together. Mm-hmm. He treated Charmaine and Anna like absolute fucking shit, putting them in bunk beds and putting up metal bars and only letting them out when he was at work. Now, through their nanny, Isa McNeil, the family became acquainted with her friend, a 16-year-old girl named Annie McFall. So you have Rena, who's married to Fred. They have the kids. Yep. They're fucking putting them in the bunk beds, locking them up.
Like animals.
They have these live-in nannies, Isa McNeil and Annie McFall. They're more like half prostitutes, half nannies. I don't want a nanny prostitute living in my house because, crabs can jump 7 feet. I'm not trying to fucking deal with that in my life. That and they're probably a couple nasty bitches.
I would assume so.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Annie McFall at the time, she was upset over her boyfriend's recent workplace death, and she was just looking for some nice people to hang out with. And Rena and Fred kind of promised her the world to get her to move in. Well, they're career criminals is what they are, and they'll tell these people anything they want to hear to get them to move in. Their time in Scotland was short-lived because Fred hit a fucking kid with the ice cream van.
Of course.
Killing him.
Jesus.
But the police cleared him of any wrongdoing. So fearing the locals revolting against his ice cream business.
Yeah, naturally.
My ice cream empire. They moved back to Gloucester, England. I looked up the pronunciation on this, and it is either Gloucester or Gloucester, England.
Okay.
Gloucester is what it looks like, but it's Gloucester, I think. Now, Annie McFall and Isa McNeil, the live-in prostitute nannies, moved with them to England. They thought they would be able to find a better life, better jobs,
better work environment.
not live with a fucking weirdo. Right. And this is when they moved there, Rena, which was Fred's wife, met a man. And they were kind of Fred and Rena were kind of in a weird relationship to begin with. He was doing his shit. He was definitely fucking the nannies.
Yeah.
And then she finally met someone named John McLaughlin. Fred caught John and Rena embracing. So his baby mama said they're cheating on him, doing some bad shit. So what does he do? If you walk in, you see your wife fucking another man in your bed, what do? You fucking kill him and play in their blood.
Yeah, you beat the fuck out of him.
What does he do? He walks in and starts beating the shit out of his wife. Okay. Like if that happens to me, I'm like, I'll get you, bitch. But I'm gonna fuck you because
I'm gonna lay this dude out.
It's a lot easier to fight a guy when he's naked with a boner because he doesn't want to touch you with the boner, but you're all in. You know, you're ready to go balls to the wall, get down and dirty, do some fucking naked grinding. You're ready to break his fucking jaw.
I'm ready to go John Wick on his ass.
I don't care if you got a boner or not, motherfucker. I'll bite that dick off, and you ain't gonna like it.
Because sometimes I like a little bit of teeth, but not too much where you're trying to bite my wiener off, you know? I like it a little rough sometimes. So he catches them embracing, which embracing could mean a lot of different things in England. I think that he probably caught him fucking. That's my detective work, is what I'm saying. So he starts beating the shit out of Rena. John stands up and he punches Fred in the face. Fred produces a knife and slices John's stomach.
Oof.
So John, you know, he's pretty upset about just getting stabbed in the fucking stomach. He punches Fred in the face again. After he does this, Fred just withers in the corner and cries, and just John proceeds to stomp his fucking guts in and beats the shit out of him, even though he had a knife. So to flash forward, Rena and John maintain their affair. Or whatever you want to call it. They were kind of swingers, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And every time John would go to make love to Rena, he'd say, "Take your goddamn bra off and show me them goddamn boobies." She'd get naked, and she'd be covered in bruises and marks and scabs. And he'd say, "Well, you know, what happened to you?" And she'd say, "Well, John, or Fred, he's been whipping my ass." So then John would say, "Well, I ain't fucking you right now. Just going away." And he would go find Fred wherever he was, and he would just beat the shit out of him. Like, you fuck this little town. He would go find Fred and beat him up for beating his wife up. So John,
good man, John.
You are the hero in our book.
Good guy.
And at one point, Charmaine, shit-stained Charmaine, she asked for ice cream in front of John and Fred. She asked Fred, her father, or her stepdad. She was a half Pakistani baby that was given to them as a consolation prize at the hospital. Oh, God, dude. This is such a fucked up story.
It really is.
So she asked Fred, she said, "Couldn't we have some ice cream?" So he yells at her and punches her in the face. So then John sees this. He says, "No, no more watch." And he proceeds to beat the shit out of Fred this time as well. So it just continued. There was this fat kid in my neighborhood growing up, and anytime I saw him, I would just beat him up. This is kind of how I envision this right here. What's going on here? He eventually got a job working he was a driver for a slaughterhouse in England. Fred did. Early in 1966, he was becoming increasingly more violent towards Rena and the nannies. He was sexually abusing Charmaine at this point. He made Rena start walking the streets and working as a prostitute to try and make ends meet because he was a fucking ice cream truck driver and worked for a slaughterhouse. So the girls, the nannies, got together with Rena and they said, "We have to devise a plan to get us back to Scotland, to get us away from Fred." They got help from the lover, John. John said, "I'll absolutely help you get you back to Scotland." And there was a really dramatic meetup that there was going to happen where they were going to steal Fred's van and meet John at a trailer park or something like that. And then John was going to drive them to Scotland with the van. Fred caught wind of this plan for them to meet and escape because he was having a very intimate sexual relationship with Annie McFall, the second nanny. So she was in on the plan to escape, but she was also very intimate with Fred. And she was trying to get Fred to leave Rena and start a life with her. Now, she's the 16-year-old nanny, okay? She tells Fred about this van meetup in the trailer park. And so Fred shows up at this meetup at the exact same time they're supposed to meet. And he gets in a confrontation with Rena and John. He grabs the children. I think it was Anna and Charmaine. He clutches the children in his grasp, and John proceeds to beat the shit out of him with the kids in his arms.
Oh, God.
And eventually, John leaves with was it Isla or whatever, the other nanny, and Rena. So he leaves town with them, leaving behind Annie McFall, the other nanny, with the 2 children. So Annie kind of took on a motherly role for these children at this point. Fred had no intentions of ever divorcing Rena like Annie wanted him to. There was some letters that were intercepted at some point. Rena desperately missed her children because she did move to Scotland, but she desperately missed her children. So she would frequently go back and forth. And at one point, she was being kind of petty, and she just stole a bunch of shit out of his van, and he reported it to the police. And then she got a warrant. So then she was arrested and brought back. And I think part of the conditions of the probation or the punishment, she had to remain there in England. So she moved back in with Fred at this point. And all this time, Annie is begging Fred to divorce Rena so they could start a relationship together. But in July of 1967, Annie McFall, she was aged 18, and she was 8 months pregnant with Fred's child. She vanished. She was never reported missing, and that's the sad thing, that this girl was so out of touch with her family and her friends that she went missing like this, and no one reported her missing.
Nobody even knew.
But her dismembered remains were found buried at the edge of a cornfield between Muchmarkle and Kempley in June of 1994.
And this happened in 1967.
Yes. So her remains were found in 1994. Her limbs had been carefully disarticulated, which means you take the shin and the thigh and you break them at the knee and you separate the limbs like that. And her fingers and toes were cut off and missing from the body, likely to have been retained as keepsakes. Also, her unborn child may have been cut from the womb as well. The following month, Rena returned to live with Fred, okay? And the couple relocated to the Lake House Caravan Park.
Sounds like a real classy fucking place.
Yeah, it does.
We got mosquitoes, we got butt fucking, we got it all down here at the Lake House Caravan Park.
Their relationship initially improved, but Rena left the following year, again, leaving the children this time in his care. On these occasions, when Fred had no women to supervise and care for the girls, he would temporarily place them in the care of the Gloucester Social Services. So he would just give up on his fucking kids and give them to social services when he couldn't take care of them. But the mother had kind of given up on the kids as well at this point, which is kind of, you don't ever expect your mom to just say, I don't want you anymore. All the people in the entire world to say, I don't want you anymore. Your mom is the last person you expect to say that.
Yeah, I mean, they'd really have to be some crazy shit for a mom to just be like, I don't want to associate myself with him. I'm going to leave you 2 fucking girls alone with this sicko.
Yeah. So that takes us to, this is where they kind of, they fall out. Rena and Fred. So Rena is kind of an afterthought at this point. And then we move into his relationship with the other main character of the story, Rose. 2, 3.
All right. And as we said, this is going to be getting into the point where Rosemary and Fred, they end up running around together for a while, and they ended up getting married.
Yeah, they kind of met in a youth club type deal as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of these things, all of these occurrences are going to happen over and over again. It's always pretty much the same story, just repeated over and over again.
Yeah.
Things go down the same exact path.
It does.
January 1972, Fred and Rosemary, they marry. Now on June 1st, so this is about 6 months later, they have their second daughter, and her name is May. Actually, I think whenever she would sneak out to go see Fred, is when she when she got knocked up the first time.
Okay.
So she was pregnant before they got married, had a baby, and then she got pregnant again, and then had their second baby.
You filthy, disgusting little girl.
And she's just sneaking out. She's just trying to get out of daddy's hair.
Looking for looking for a good time, just like all of us when we were 16 years old.
Exactly.
Not necessarily with a fucking weirdo like this, but...
So after the birth of May, and you'll remember he did the same exact thing with Rena. He actually would trick Rosemary out, so he would make her, prostitute usually while she did this, he would watch.
He was a cuck.
He's very interested in watching.
You taught me that word.
The cuck, yeah, that's a good word,
That's
man.
a nasty word. That's the nastiest thing ever.
He would actually end up taking erotic pictures of her, and he'd send them to swingers magazines for them to use for prostitution ads. He had no shame whatsoever.
Rob and I looked at the pictures from the prostitution ads.
Yeah.
For the time,
They were pretty good pictures.
she had a rough life. Well, I'm thinking about it now. She's probably 16, these pictures we looked at. So we're probably going to prison. But I've been to prison. I know how it works. We'll be fine, dude. First day you walk in, you punch the biggest motherfucker in the place in the face. You get like a 3-week vacation in solitary confinement, but people respect you when you come out.
Well, they were like PG pictures. It wasn't nothing crazy.
Right. She was wearing a bathing suit. Yeah. I think there's no telling how old she was in these pictures.
And her back was to the picture, so
she wasn't naked.
No, not at all. So Rosemary, sorry, there, I lost my train of thought there. She would actually end up going on to have 7 children, 3 of which, and I bring this up now because 3 of which ended up being mixed race because of her clients that she would see.
Every time we go to the hospital, they give us another baby that isn't ours.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah. So she ends up getting pregnant 3 times because he's making her go out to, make money to sell her body pretty much.
Oh, no.
So due to the fact that they, had 7 kids plus the kids he already had, they needed to get out and get a bigger place.
Yeah.
So they ended up moving. Now, Rose in this house had her own room that she used for her work.
Oh, man.
And this room had peepholes in it for Fred to watch. And he had the Uncle Jesse is recording red light, he had at the top of the stairs. So he had one of those on the outside of her door so that whenever she had a client in with her, that light would come on, and none of the kids would know not to go in there.
Jesus Christ.
And he would know that he could go in there and start looking through them peepholes.
Yeah.
And
I'll see you in there with that big mandingo. I fucking love it so much.
see her getting railed out.
Jesus. I couldn't do it.
That's wild. So
I'd put my wiener through the hole and try and get a little taste.
this is all around the summer of 1972. So in the same year, the Wests hire a nanny named Caroline Owens. Now, this is Caroline Owens or Caroline Roberts. I don't know. There's 2 different. All the articles showed 2 different names.
Yeah,
but
it might have been more like a maiden name type thing versus a married
Yeah.
name. I don't know, but the research is really hard to follow. But there's a Caroline. That
It's
was a
real
nanny.
weird. For this one specifically, the research that I followed, her name was Caroline Owens. She was 17, and they took her in as a nanny, and they would. They promised her family that they would look after her so that she could stay with them, be a live-in nanny. They, assured her parents, we'll take care of her. She'll be good. So,
What do you do when the nanny shits her pants? To hire another nanny?
I guess you would have to
Kill her. That's what they did. They just killed her.
Yeah. So the Wests, both, of course, because Caroline is pretty, from what the research said, she's pretty attractive.
Oh, she's beautiful. I
Yeah.
saw a picture of her. She was. She looks like who's the? God, I'm trying to think. Christina Ricci, the girl from
Oh, yeah.
Casper and
Yeah.
stuff. She looks like her, but just a lot cuter. I mean,
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're both making attempts to try to get in those pants and do nasty sex with her, but she doesn't want anything to do because they're fucking a bunch of gross weirdos. So she turns them down, and after putting up with this for a few weeks, she ends up leaving. So she leaves. Now on December 6, 1972, they invite her back over to the house. Now when she gets back to the house, the 2 end up teaming up, grabbing her, stripping her, and raping her.
jeez.
Now, this is a quote that I found, and this is what Fred told her, that if she didn't do what he wanted, and this is in quotes, I feel like you could do the accent better.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll keep you in the cellar and let my black friends have you. And when we're finished, we'll kill you and bury you under the paving stones of Gloucester.
That is ominous as hell.
So he didn't threaten her with a white dick.
No.
Threatened her with a BBC.
Yeah, one of his black
He
friends.
said, I want to get someone to come down here with a hysterectomy hanging from his waist. Not one of these little dicks. I threaten my wife with black dicks all the time. I spray paint them.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily have to be from one of my black friends or one of my white friends. I just, she knows that she sees me out in the yard spray painting dildos black, then I'm angry.
You know what's going on.
So black dicks can mean a lot of different things for other people. I've watched pornos. There's no such thing as black dicks. They're purple dicks. Everyone knows that. That white men, they have like peach colored penises, and the black performers, they have purple heads on their wieners. Look it up. Go to my favorite, xnxx.com, or there's Pornhub. Just type in BBC.
BBC. That's all you got to look at.
Or if you have a purple wiener, Rob's on Snapchat at Brohio Podcast.
Send it away, baby.
Yeah, send it over. Launch it. I don't know if you maybe need a bigger bandwidth or something, but send it. Fuck it.
Right.
Someone from Australia sent us a video this week of him pissing in a cup in the mall.
All right.
I'm not going to say his name. He's at a counter in the mall. Okay. So he's got the counter up to his waist and he's looking straight ahead. He's filming people walking through the mall. So you can see through the store into the walkway in the mall. And then he pans down and he's got like a dip cup. It looks like he spit tobacco in. He's just got his uncircumcised wiener and just pissed in the cup as all these people walk by in the mall.
Good for him.
Oh, yeah. And someone sent us a video of them snorting cocaine, too. Did you get that one?
I did. Yeah, I saw
was
that.
that Snapchat?
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. Did it look like good cocaine or like shitty cocaine?
I don't know. I don't know the difference.
I don't know what good cocaine looks like.
No, I don't either. So, back to the story here. So after they grabbed her and held her down and did all that bad stuff to her, for some reason, after he made that threat to her, he actually let her go. She was able to leave.
Wow.
And she goes back home. Her mother sees the bruises, and she calls the police.
Mother was the worst thing ever. He had teeth that looked like cat shit. He was the ugliest man that's ever touched me in my entire life. And he looked like a cat shit for teeth, for sure.
He really did, yeah.
Cat shit teeth.
So the next month, January of
They call it
1973,
kitty litter.
there was a hearing. And even though Fred had, at this point in time, he had a pretty long rap sheet. He, I said rap sheep sheet. I don't know why I typed
He was
that.
definitely fucking sheep when he was younger.
Yeah, definitely. So he already had a record, so there's no reason why you should believe him. He was somehow able to convince the magistrate that Caroline was willing, and the magistrate didn't believe that this couple, could be capable of doing something so evil. So they ended up pleading the charges down to indecent assault, which was just a $50 or 50-pound fee.
Oh, 50 pounds? I don't even know what the fuck that means.
I don't either. But after this incident, Rosemary would actually go on. She would encourage Fred to sexually abuse Anna Marie from the time, the child was 8, and Rose would assist in it also. So, I mean, it's just a long line of kids being abused by their parents, step-parents, their parents. It's just like they're getting it from every which way.
And all while this is going on, it's said that Rosemary was going back and forth between Fred and her dad.
Yeah.
And still actively engaging in sexual intercourse with her father during all this.
See, her dad ends up passing away in 1979. So, but before his death, he would still come by and he would still have sex with Rose, and he would also have sex with Anna Marie. Of course, he would end up raping her. And this is his step granddaughter.
Jesus Christ.
So it's just one big smorgasbord of nasty.
And that's what I detail next is how horrible they were to all these children. They had eventually 7 kids, and they're not sure who the dads were to most of them. Like Rob said, there's one family picture, and all the kids are sitting in front of the parents. And that would be a hard family to please at dinner time. I know that.
It's just an interracial. It's like,
I'll have chicken nuggets. I'll have dumplings. I would like some rice and curry. There's all kinds of different people at this table, and they're wearing fucking clown suits and Santa suits and shit. It's so weird, man. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
high socks and wooden shoes.
Yeah, I masturbated 2 times to try and get it to all come together, and it still wouldn't work. I couldn't go either time. Is it considered jerking off if you don't finish? That's my thing. That's my question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
it's just jerking at that point because you're not jerking off.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I can probably count.
Unless your dick falls off, then it's jerking off.
You lose. What do you do with your dick after it falls off?
Throw it in the trash.
You get to the hospital like, my little
You put it in
dick."
milk.
You put it in milk.
Put it in milk.
Drink up, little fella. Get stronger. We need you bigger when we put you back on. Oh, I need a bigger dick.
It does strengthen bones. Heyo.
I'm going to put you in a cup of protein powder. Put you it's a pre-workout.
Throw it in a Monster.
I'm going to have a big fucking angry dick when I put it back on when it falls off. I'm going to nuke it with some fucking steroids.
I was going to keep it in a dick pump and just keep that fucker at full capacity.
He's going to be on the ground doing dick push-ups and stuff before I put him back on. So, to make room, I think Rob said this already, they moved to 25 Cromwell.
Yeah.
Their punishments were always extremely physical. They beat these kids. They took great gratification from hurting their children, and they took very close care to never mark the children's face or hands when they would beat them. 2 of the kids ran away at one point, but after 2 days of living in homeless shelters and in the slums, they came back to the house, and Fred and Rosemary beat these children to within an inch of their life after they returned from running away. Between 1972 and 1992, the West children were admitted to the it's the emergency room in Great Britain, of local hospitals 31 times.
Oh my gosh.
The injuries were explained as accidents and never reported to social services. This next part's taken directly from Wikipedia, so anytime we steal our research, we like to let them know. On one occasion, as Stephen, which was one of the children of Rosemary and Fred, he was mopping the kitchen floor with a cloth. Rose, the mother, accidentally stepped in the bowl of water he had been using. In response, Rose hit the boy over the head with the bowl, then repeatedly kicked him in the head and the chest, and she shouted, "You did this on purpose, you little swine."
I love it.
Oh, man.
You swine.
She's a fucking bitch.
What a cunt.
On another occasion, Rose became furious about a missing kitchen utensil, then grabbed a knife she had been using to cut a slab of meat, repeatedly inflicting light scour marks to May's chest until her rib cage was covered with light knife wounds. All the while, May screamed, "No, Mom, no, Mom," and Stephen and Heather stood by, helplessly sobbing. After Fred occasionally became the recipient of Rose's violence, okay,
So he was getting his ass beat by her too.
Fred got his ass beat by everybody.
Yeah, he
and then he
really
took
did.
it out on the women and children, which is fucking sick. On one occasion in August of 1974, Rose chased after Fred with a carving knife in her hand. Fred was able to slam shut the door of the room into which he had run as Rose lunged at him with the knife, resulting in the knife embedding itself in the door.
Holy shit.
And 3 of Rose's fingers sliding down the blade, almost severing them from her hand.
Oh my God.
I'd be like,
That's what you get, you filthy fucking bitch.
You know how mad she probably would have been?
oh. In response, Rose calmly wrapped her hand in a towel and said, "Look what you've done, fella." Hold on a second, it gets better. "Look what you've done, fella. You've got to take me to the hospital now."
Fella.
That's how you know your wife is mad when she calls you fella.
Right. What a crazy fucking woman.
Not I want to feel you. They call you fella. Hey, you're really fucked up, fella. Now we move on to Anna Marie West, who received brunt of the sexual and physical abuse in the house. In September of 1972, they took 8-year-old Anna Marie to the basement. They ripped her clothing off after she reluctantly wouldn't do so when they told her to remove her clothes. She was tied to the mattress, gagged, and raped by Fred West. This is an 8-year-old little girl. So Fred West, if you're listening,
I don't think he's listening
hope you're fucking dead.
for more than one reason.
Hope you fucking die. After the rape, Rose explained to the children, quote, "Everybody does it to every girl. It's a father's job.
Oh my God.
Don't worry and don't say anything to anybody." Making clear these sexual assaults would continue, Fred and Rose then threatened the children with severe beatings if they ever received word she had divulged the sexual abuse she endured at their hands. Rose occasionally sexually abused the girls herself and later took extreme gratification in degrading her with the acts such as binding Anna Marie to various items of furniture before encouraging Fred to rape her and forcing her to perform household chores while wearing sexual devices and a miniskirt.
Ugh.
Little girls, man.
Man, I can't.
She started making her work as a prostitute at the age of 13, where she wouldn't reveal her real age to the men. But part of the deal was these men highly desired Anna Marie because she was obviously younger, 13, 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But the catch was, in order for them to have sex with her, Rose would have to be in the room while the deed was going on, as to not let it slip that she was actually under the legal age to have sex or to engage. I don't know what the prostitution laws are over in Great Britain, but
yeah, I remember reading something that she even told, Rose even told Anna Marie that, you should be happy that you're able to do this. Like that you have the opportunity to do this. Like, ugh.
And like we said, full disclosure in the beginning, this is a rough one. There's a lot of tough stuff going on here. But this is the story we've picked this week, unfortunately. And obviously, if you know of anything going on like this, if you knew of anyone dealing with something like this, always report this shit, man.
Definitely.
Go to the police, even if it's nothing. If you hear something, if you think something's going on, stand up for these kids, because these kids are so afraid to stand up for themselves. Shit like this still goes on. I mean, with the sex trade and stuff. I want to be a crusader for kids. I love children. I love my children. I love your children. There's some kids I don't fucking like because they're really fucking stupid and annoying, but I still love them anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're kids. I mean, yeah.
Yes. So if you suspect something like this is going on, you don't want to report it, tell us. We'll fucking report it. I'll call.
I ain't afraid to go fight
right
somebody.
Now. Yeah, I'll fight everybody listening right now.
I mean, not a kid. I'm not gonna fight the kid.
No, I'll fight a kid if they're doing it. Just show up. They were out there Christmas morning. I'm fucking sitting there in some UFC fucking Fight Club shorts. Just come out from underneath the tree and whip his fucking ass. I'll do it. It's not below me.
We've gone almost an hour and 9 minutes, and are just now about to start getting into the murders.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Do it. Let's go.
So let's go ahead, and we're gonna start. And
shit stain Charmaine.
Unfortunately, we gotta start with Charmaine, and this is of course, if you forget, because there's a lot of people going on, a lot of moving parts. Charmaine is Fred's 8-year-old stepdaughter.
She was the gift baby.
She was the gift baby
from the Pakistani taxi driver.
Yeah. So June of 1971, Charmaine seemingly just up and disappears. So nobody knows, well, some people know what happened to her, but the majority of the people don't know. So Rose, Anna Marie, the sister, is curious as to, what happened. So she's asking Rose, and Rose tells her that Rena, her mom, had came to pick her up whenever, Anna Marie wasn't around. So the sister is under the assumption that her mom has her, so it's okay. And at this time, Fred is actually he's out of the picture. He's in jail, so he doesn't even know. I don't even think he knows what's going on at this point. He doesn't even know she's gone. But in all actuality, Rena hadn't picked up Charmaine. What they think had happened is that they think that in one of her crazy outbursts, that Rose became too overwhelmed in her duties of taking care of the kids, and what they think was, originally just a fit of the routine abuse that constantly happened at the house. It got out of hand, and she just snapped and ended up killing her. So I said Fred was in jail. Oh, what's that?
It just says tit. I don't know. We got it in the mail.
Oh, that's the tit letter. Okay. So I mentioned that Fred was in jail during this time. Well, he got released. He was set to be released on June 24th. So that is, just later on in the month. So when he gets out of jail, he's actually the one that ends up hiding the body of Charmaine.
Man.
So he hides the body of his own daughter. He ends up taking her to their old house, cuts off her fingers and toes, and buries her under the kitchen floor, where she was laying for 20 years before she was finally recovered.
Holy shit.
And this is going to be, underneath the kitchen is pretty much, that's their dumping grounds. That's going to be where pretty much they take everybody. So I mentioned that a little bit ago that
and you did say this is like a repeating story over and over. The same thing would just happen over and over and over.
Over and over again. So it's
dozens of girls, I think. Yeah. I don't know what the final body count was, but there's dozens.
Yeah, we'll get into that. They're creatures of habit. So I talked about how Anna Marie was under the guise that Rena, her mother, had came and got her. So obviously during this story, there's a huge plot hole in that eventually Rena's going to want to see her fucking kids.
I would hope so. She was a bad mom, but she was a little bit in touch, I guess.
So, I mean, obviously Fred wasn't thinking about what he's going to do whenever she comes back. So,
or was he?
Or he may have been, yeah, because August of 1971, she was unable to get an answer as to where Charmaine was, Rena was. So she ends up going to Fred's father, Walter. So Fred realizes now that she's asking all these people that it's serious and he needs to do something.
Mind you, Walter's the one that taught Fred how to fuck animals.
Yeah, he's the squirrel fucker.
he's the no on where everybody's at.
Yeah, he's the one that's teaching the all this stuff to his shitbag of a son. So like father, like son. So he gets to realizing that something is gonna happen. I need to get rid of this problem as well. So it's believed that when Rena came to Fred to get answers about Charmaine, that he ended up getting her really drunk, and he ended up strangling her at the Midland house. And that's the Midland house is the same house where Charmaine was buried, like I said. So at that point, he disassembles her body, sorry. Just like he'd done with the other girls that he's going to end up doing, cutting off fingers, toes, putting parts in bags, and burying them in the same area as he actually ends up burying Anna McFall, Charmaine, and these others as well.
Oh, man. And this is just the beginning of this murderous tirade that these two fucking shitbags would go on.
Mm-hmm.
They would begin essentially over and over and over again luring young girls to the home with the promise of a job as a nanny, that there was a private farm somewhere that they could eventually take them to get them off, get them out of the daily rigors of being poor in a bad part of town, that there was light at the end of the tunnel for these ladies. Not true. Eventually, they raped and tortured them in elaborate, sadistic bondage acts for days. So they would tie these women up, these teenage girls. They would tie them up, and for days, they would eventually strangle or suffocate them and then bury them on their property. While raping, torturing, and murdering young women, Fred also sexually abused Anne Marie West, like we talked about earlier, his daughter from his relationship with Rena Costello. She eventually became pregnant but miscarried. When she fled the home, Fred continued abusing his other daughters. Now, one of the first other murders to occur was 19-year-old Linda Gao, and I think that's how you pronounce that.
Gao, yeah.
And they I think, from what I understand, the house was essentially a brothel.
Yeah.
More of an inn, I think, is where there was a lot of travelers and lodgers coming through the house at all given times. This 19-year-old Linda Gao, she moved into the house. She was shacking up with two lodger men that were in the house, and she was kind of going back and forth between these two random men. It wasn't Fred. There's a story that she eventually had a run-in with one of the West children, and she struck and hit the children, and she was told to leave. This is what was told to the people in the home that knew that Linda was there. So eventually the word got back to Linda's mother, and Linda's mother went to the end, or the whatever it was, and looking for her daughter, Linda. And when she contacted Rosemary to say, "Where's my daughter?" Rosemary was wearing Linda's clothing at the time that Linda's mom showed up. And Rosemary's like, "Oh, no, I'm not quite following you. I'm not real sure where your daughter is. I'm kind of uncertain of what did she look like? What was her name?" But she was wearing
her fucking clothes.
Wearing her clothes. Jesus. Linda's body was eventually found. Her jaw was wrapped in adhesive and surgical tape to silence her screams. Linda Gao had likely been suspended from holes carved into the wooden beams supporting the ceiling of the cellar. Fred later admitted he had devised for the purpose of suspending his victims' bodies, and she probably likely died of strangulation or suffocation. Her dismembered body, missing 5 cervical vertebrae, the patella, and numerous phalange bones, was buried in an inspection pit beneath the garage. 5 victims were murdered and buried in the cellar at Cromwell Street between November of 73 and April of 1975. So just like a year, between a year and a half, they killed 5 different girls. The first of these victims was 15-year-old Carol Ann Cooper, who was abducted on November 10th of 1973. Cooper lived in the Pines Children Home in Worcester and was abducted after spending the evening at a cinema with her boyfriend. She had been waiting for a bus in Warndon when she vanished and was likely dragged into Fred's car, where her face was bound with surgical tape and her arms bound with braiding cloth before she was driven to the Cromwell Street house of Fred and Rosemary. At the West's address, Cooper was suspended from the wooden beam of the cellar ceiling before her abuse and murder. As had been the case with Linda, Cooper died from strangulation or asphyxiation before her body was dismembered and buried in a shallow cubicle grave in the cellar. Over the next 17 months, there was 4 more murder victims ranging in the age from 15 to 21 years old. Eventually, he got the idea to completely concrete over the entire basement, where a majority of his victims were buried. So that was good by him, because the police didn't find these bodies until he said, hey, I got a bunch of fucking bodies below the concrete in the basement. There was the last known murder was Shirley Robinson. She was a lodger that was passing to and fro just like many others. She was 18 years old. She was also pregnant when she was murdered. Rosemary bragged to the neighbors about the baby being Fred. So this 18-year-old girl was impregnated by Fred. All while Rosemary was pregnant at the time as well. She developed a deep resentment towards Shirley Robinson because she was carrying Fred's baby. They're both carrying Fred's baby at the same time. And you know these kids are going to be fucked up and stupid because look at the fucking dad. There's no chance at all of anything being okay with those children.
Not at all.
But then that's not true, because there's the children that are still around today that actively do interviews, and they're deeply scarred and deeply affected, obviously, by the traumatic events, and they've went through a lot. They dealt with a lot.
I couldn't even imagine.
They've done their absolute best to try and achieve some normalcy in their life, and I've watched some of their interviews. My heart hurts for these people that they would go through. I had a good life, man. You know, my mom and dad took good care of me. I had good brothers. I've had a good fucking life. And to think that there's people out there, we know people that have had hard lives, and it breaks my heart that people don't experience the happiness of being a child, the happiness of, you know, a mother and father's love, the happiness of security. It hurts that, not everybody gets to experience that. And I know a lot of you that listen kind of, you've had hard lives, and our hearts go out to you for dealing with stuff like that, you know. Like we said, Rosemary had some deep resentment towards Shirley. They both, pregnant with the fucking mongoloid babies. And Fred eventually murdered Shirley due to the instability that she was creating in the home with his, the marriage with his wife. She was kind of sending some waves to the ocean there, getting her pretty upset. And you know what they say, happy wife, happy life. So if I got to kill a fucking teenager, that's what I got to do to make my baby happy. Her body was buried in the garden of 25 Cromwell Street. It was extensively dismembered, but no restraining devices were found with these remains, making a sexual motive for this murder completely unlikely. The unborn baby had been removed and had several bones missing. Shortly thereafter, Rose unsuccessfully submitted a claim for maternity benefit in Shirley's name.
Wow.
With the Gloucester Social Services.
Wow.
That's fucked up, dude.
What a fucking bitch.
Yeah. The final murder Fred and Rose are known to have committed with a definite sexual motive occurred on August 5th of 1979. The victim was a 16-year-old named Allison Chambers, who had run away from a local children's home to become the West's live-in nanny in the middle of 1979. Eventually, after they kind of slowed down killing all these women passing to and fro, all of their attention and energy moved to their daughters exclusively, which was Heather and Mae West. The frequency of the abuse endured by Heather and May increased when both girls reached puberty. Fred was overt and unapologetic in his conduct and would justify his actions with the simple explanation, I made you, I can do what I like with you. He further referred to his intentions to impregnate both his daughters on at least one occasion and would occasionally force all his children to watch pornography with him.
It's so fucking weird.
God, I want to fucking hit this guy in the back of the head with a ball bat and stomp his fucking guts out. What a turd, man. So there reached a point where Heather and May, they made a pact with their brother Stephen. They said they developed a regimen whereby they would only shower or undress when their father was either out of the house or as the sister stood guard at the door. Stephen was also informed by his father that he would have to have sex with his mother by the age of 17.
Jesus. As if it doesn't fucking get any worse. Like it
Jeez,
just keeps fucking going.
Can I just get an Atari instead? No.
That's right.
I've really been thinking about what I want to get you for your 17th birthday, and I think I'd like to give you a big slice of pie.
He just wants everybody to fuck everybody. What a
You've got to try this pussy, man. You've got to try your mother's. No.
You've came out of it, but you've never came in it.
I'm done with the podcast. Thanks for listening, guys.
That's my one joke that goes too far for the podcast.
I fucking hate your guts, dude. You're the worst human. I'm drawing the line in the sand right here, buddy. You're on Team Rob. Send us an email so I can block you from all of our social medias. You're on Team Nicolicious. I'm going to give you a letter for a phone number for some counseling.
There's no winners here. Either team, you're fucked.
This distressful behavior led to Fred and Rose suspecting Heather had lesbian inclinations because her sister was watching guard for her. They said, this is kind of strange. She must be a lesbian. So they thought that Heather was she was a lesbian. It also resulted in her becoming the increasing recipient of taunts from her father, who had never particularly held a liking toward Heather. He would call her ugly, and he would call her a bitch. On the occasions Heather remonstrated about the abuse to her mother, Rose would simply laugh at her distress.
God, they suck so fucking bad.
Heather also expressed to May and Stephen her desire to run away from home and live a nomadic lifestyle in the forest of Dean and to never again see any human beings. I couldn't imagine being just at a point in your life where you say, I don't want to fucking see another human for the rest of my life.
Right. I'm going to go live in a fucking forest with the foxes and the birds.
Robin Hood. Friends saw bruises all over Heather, I believe. And she told her friends that her mother said she was a little bitch and she deserved the bruises. Rumors started to make it around the school about Rose's sex life. So Rosemary, she through all this, she's still a prostitute. She's still number one, A1 there at the brothel. They got the fucking red light.
Letting them taters swing.
Guys coming in and coming out. He said, here, allow me to get a big old bite of them bologna nips. Because there ain't nothing Nicolicious likes more than a big old piece of bologna nips. You know, man, woman, cat, dog, I don't care. Like me some bologna nips. Excuse me. It was making it around the school that Heather's mom, Rosemary, was a fucking slut. Well, not a slut. Sorry.
Don't slut shame.
Poor choice of words there. She was a prostitute. And just for anybody out there listening, prostitutes don't like to be called prostitutes. They prefer
Sex worker.
Working girl. Working.
Working girl.
Yeah, you're working. Hey, slut. You walking or working?
She works hard for the money.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she does.
Heather confided in close friends that the rumors were true about her mother, that she was a prostitute. Somehow word traveled from one friend to the other, and one of these friends had a father, and the father was an acquaintance or a friend with Fred West. So he goes to Fred and he says, hey, is it true that your wife is a prostitute? And at this point, Fred kind of knows that one of his kids has got loose lips. And loose lips sink ships, for sure. Heather, there was a night that Heather cried all night long because she didn't get a job at a holiday camp. She had put all of her eggs in this basket for this holiday camp, that this was going to be the escape from this house of hell, this house of terrors, that she was finally going to get a job that was going to take her to a different location so she could get away from her family, she could support herself. But then she got the letter in the mail that said no, that she wasn't getting the job, and she was crying all night long, so down on herself. She was howling. She kept everyone in the house up all night long. But the next day, when everybody woke up, she was completely fine. So all the kids went to school that day, and Heather stayed home. When they returned home from school, her parents said that Heather had indeed got the job, that she was going away to work at this new place. Likely fucking story, right?
Right.
But they kind of stumbled over themselves because they told the neighbors that Heather ran away with a lesbian lover, even though she wasn't a lesbian at this point. Jesus. When May and Stephen suggested they report Heather's disappearance to the police, Fred changed his story yet again, saying it would be unwise to initiate a search for Heather as she was involved in a credit card fraud.
Oh my gosh.
On more than one occasion, Fred and Rose persuaded an unknown acquaintance to fake a phone call from Heather to her parents. Isn't that shitty?
That's really shitty.
Yeah. Then, as the years progressed, the kids would do bad shit. You know, they were getting into trouble and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Fred and Rosemary would joke back and forth. They would say, "You better be careful or you'll end up under the patio like Heather."
Oh, my gosh.
So they had murdered Heather and placed her below the patio at the rear of the house. In May of 1992, Fred videotaped himself while raping one of his 7 daughters. She told friends at school what had happened, and their parents contacted the police because thank fucking God for people that care about children that are being abused.
Yes.
Eventually, Fred was charged with rape, and Rosemary was charged as an accomplice. When police uncovered human bones buried at or near the house, the deeds of the sick predator couple was exposed to the British public. Fred West, well, I think you have that. We kind of stumbled on our research here, and we had to get some stuff from biography.com.
Yep. So this is what we got here. In the course of the investigation, Savage, and this is, let me go back here. Savage, I think, is going to be one of the investigators. Yeah, Detective Constable Hazel Savage.
Okay, cool fucking name.
That's like a wrestling gimmick. Savage uncovered the abuse of Anna Marie as well as the disappearances of Charmaine and Heather, warranting further investigation. Rumors also arose about what might be buried under the patio. The younger West children were taken into care, and Rose attempted suicide at this time, although she was found by her son, Stephen, and revived.
Should have let her fucking die, dude.
Yep. The case against the West collapsed when 2 key witnesses decided not to testify against them. Savage continued to pursue her research for Heather, questioning the West children repeatedly, but they had been well trained by their parents and failed to cooperate. February 1994, a warrant was obtained to search the Cromwell Street house and garden. Police found the remains of 2 dismembered and decapitated young women, one of whom authorities suspected might be Shirley Robinson. West claimed sole responsibility for the murders.
Yeah,
and
Fred claimed.
Yeah, Fred did.
Okay.
Yep. And when Rose heard of the confession, she denied all knowledge of Heather's death. Then, inexplicably, West admitted the presence of the bodies in the cellar to the police, who discovered the remains of 9 individuals. Establishing the identities of each victim was a mammoth task.
And when Rob was reading it the first time, I can't fucking see, dude. I can't read. And it looked like it said mammoth tusk. And I was like, oh, man, they found fucking dinosaurs in the basement, too. How cool is that? But it said mammoth task, not tusk.
Not mammoth tusk.
That's a mammoth tusk. That'd be cool, man. I want a mammoth tusk.
That'd be pretty awesome. Continuing to cooperate, West revealed the whereabouts of the remains of his first wife, Rena, lover Anna McFall, and daughter Charmaine, who were all buried away from the Cromwell Street house. As the case against them developed, Rose tried increasingly to distance herself from West, claiming that she was also a victim, but police were not convinced of her innocence given the sheer number of murders which had occurred and her participation in the rapes. So this takes us to the trial and something else fun that happens. On December 13th, 1994, West was charged on 12 counts of murder, like Nick said, and taken into custody at Winson Green Prison in Birmingham, where on January 1st, January 1st, 1995, he hung himself in his cell with knotted bed sheets.
Oh, fuck you, dude.
Good fucking riddance.
If they got Podbean or Google Podcast in hell, and you're listening,
Eat a dick.
eat fucking 12 dicks.
Eat shit.
Eat my dick.
Eat 12 shits.
Eat 12 shits.
Eat 12 shits. Rose West went on to trial on October 3rd, 1995, in the glare of media frenzy. Witnesses, including stepdaughter Anna Marie, testified to her participation in sexual assaults on young women. Her defense counsel tried to argue the evidence of assault was not evidence of murder, but when Rose testified on her own behalf, her violent nature and dishonesty became clear to the jury, and they unanimously found her guilty on 10 separate counts of murder on November 22nd, 1995. She received a life sentence, having to serve a minimum of 25 years in jail.
Fucking turd, bitch.
Her sentence was later extended to a whole life order sentence by the Home Secretary, effectively removing any possibility of parole. And it's even said that, there's a belief that Fred and Rose West victims actually numbered far more than the 12 in which they were charged.
Oh, I'm sure it was. They had so many.
That's all they could get.
Gypsy kind of transient people coming through, people that all these women, they're coming from children's home and orphanages and just places where, there's not people to take care of them.
Yep.
No one to look after them.
Yeah. Rose actually looks like she launched 2 different appeals in 96 and 2000, claiming new evidence come to light, trying to get her sentence overturned. 96 one was rejected, and then she later dropped the one in 2000, and she still remains incarcerated.
Wow. There was I read that during the trials, while these two were passing, Rose and Fred, that Fred would oftentimes lunge at Rosemary and attempt to hurt her, so the bailiffs and the police would oftentimes have to kind of rough him up and slam him around because he was always trying to lunge at Rosemary to try and get to her. It's hard to say, and also his brothers came forward, Fred's brothers, and, Fred talked about his dad teaching him about bestiality and his dad fucking his sisters.
Right.
And his brothers came forward and said, no, none of that shit happened. This is all fantasy stuff that Fred made up in his mind. And
thinking about what you just said about him lunging at her, that very well could have been his attempt to make himself look like the loose cannon, and that it was him because he knew he was going to kill himself regardless.
Possibly.
If he was that smart.
Yeah. And he did,
I'm sure he wanted to hurt her too.
Throughout all of his murdering, he cut off fingers and toes, and he would tear these bodies apart. So he had the mindset enough to try and cover up his tracks a little bit. So maybe he was thinking about his wife at this point to kind of sway the jury in one way or the other.
Yeah, because he did say it was all him.
So. The kids all said, the one, Anna Marie, the mom, tie her up the furniture so Fred could, sexually assault her and rape her.
It's rough.
This is a bad one.
I can't even imagine. It's horrible.
It is a very bad one. So you fucking hillbillies from Great Britain, this is the gift that you've given us, the Brohio podcast.
I do find peace knowing that if there is a hell, he's down there burning up.
Yeah, he's getting butt fucked by a bunch of dudes right now.
Yeah, he is.
But that might not be bad for some people.
I find solace in that.
If they're like, you want to go in a room and get butt fucked by a bunch of dudes? I'd be like, well, let me look in there first. I would want to know what they look like.
Sounds like a Friday night.
If it's that meme where it's the couch and like 6 black dudes in tidy whities behind the couch, and I'm supposed to be the little white girl.
Sign me up.
Not so fast. That one's going to hurt. Can I get some Advil before I do this? Because there's going to be some leakage.
Naturally.
All right. So we got a live show this week coming up Saturday in Indianapolis. I don't know what we're covering.
We'll figure that out here within the next day or so, get that knocked out.
We hope to see
get our
guys
stories
there.
worked on.
Yeah.
So we can have some fun guest interaction.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
It's going to be a real good time. We hope to see you there.
If you could make it, come out, hang out with us, have a beer.
I think I'll probably set this one up for a live stream like we did the we did the one time.
That works for me.
I think that would be pretty cool
Yeah.
deal for our fans.
Works
our
for me.
listeners, because the last one we streamed, everyone liked it.
Cool.
So, I'm going to ask you the question. Fred West.
Oh, God.
How big was it?
Baby dick.
Baby Nick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at his picture. He looks like one of those guys where his bush is probably bigger than his wiener.
I don't know, dude. Oh, shit. We got fucking, we got to pause for a second. We got the climaxes.
Oh, yeah.
People climax.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Let's pause and play those for you real quick.
All right.
Man, we're back on here now. We got
All
some
right.
cum noises from our friends. Here we go.
Let's give it a play.
Hey, Delicious, Nicolicious, and Rob Dog. It's Teabag here from the UK.
Teabag.
And these are the noises I make when I come. Oh, yes. Oh, God. That's it. Faster. Slower. Faster. Oh, slower.
That's so weak.
Oh, I'm gonna come so bad. Gonna fill up your tight pussy with cream pie. Oh.
Oh, God.
May the queen bless that man.
Creme pie. Oh, my God, dude. That's the fucking worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. There's one more here. See if I can find this fucking thing. See if this is it. Oh my God. I gotta play it again. Jesus Christ.
I told my mom not to send that in.
Oh, this is from Reba. The person that sent this, her name was Reba. Like Reba McEntire. Like, here's your chance now, fans, so don't let me down. She says, here's a little something my husband does. We call it the Asian orgasm. You want to keep the Kleenex nearby because you'll be squirting out your ear pussies by the end. No tentacled creatures were harmed in the filming of this sound clip. Love you guys. Oh, God. We only got 2 videos, sound clips
Oh, man, you guys let us down.
of people climaxing.
Only 2.
We're going to open this up for one more week.
Let's do this one more week.
If you're climaxing, you want to send us... If you want to send us a video of you climaxing,
Just like this one or better.
not a video, just a sound clip.
Yeah.
We're not trying to see you naked, okay? Just send it, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. I can't help it, dude. I mean, it keeps on going off. Send us an email, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. We'll be happy to play this for you. Super
Yes,
happy.
we will.
Yes.
Like 5 or 6 times like we did with this one.
Reba, thank you, girl.
God bless you, girl.
Thank you so much, Reba.
You don't let me down.
It's turn down, fans, you don't let me down. That's some beautiful fucking hair.
Oh, man, I love it.
Thanks for listening to the Brohio Podcast.
Thank you,
Show.
guys.
We love you.